Hello everyone, welcome to the channel of MeteoMark Weather. Great to have you here as usual. We're going to be looking at the winter storm outlook, big southern and east coast areas, as well as through the mid-Atlantic into parts of the Northeast and Ohio Valley and the eastern Great Lakes. The next couple weeks, we could see some big-time snowstorm and ice storm action. We're going to look at which areas stand the chance of seeing the greatest risk. And just take a look at these temperatures next week. We could be looking at the biggest polar vortex break off here we've seen in quite some time, with some areas struggling to even reach 10 degrees across much of the east. And we're also going to take a look at the tropics, where some big changes may be shaping up for much of the Caribbean into Central America. Let's get into it. And a sneak peek throughout the rest of the video. This is our latest European run. We could be looking at tremendous snowfall totals from the deep south all the way up into the mid-Atlantic and the northeast. All right, so we're going to skip ahead first to the synoptic view this Friday into Saturday morning storm. I'll show you the future radar for the first 60 hours, the next couple days, and several minutes from now. But let's start off with this as we head on into Friday. Here's 4 a.m. on Friday. So a lot of you across the south have wondered, this first system, there's pretty much no chance of snow unless you're in parts of the central Appalachians here, maybe some ice and some snow. But it's mainly the rain snow line going to be up here through Columbus and north of Dayton. And as we continue to go through time, look at this. This is 4 a.m. and here's the morning rush. 7 a.m. Cleveland, Canton, Akron, Mansfield area. Heavy snow breaking out, especially in these darker white areas and darker blue areas. And you can see by 10 a.m., that's blossoming to the east here. Pittsburgh, you're right on the rain snow to line. Buffalo, you got snow breaking out all the way through Syracuse, down through Scranton towards 1 p.m. So you can see the cold air locked in place here. It looks like mostly a snow event through most of Ohio, northern Pennsylvania, and then on up into upstate New York and New England here. So we're going to go over those snowfall amounts in just a couple minutes here, but look at that it is a fast-moving system. You can see by 7 p.m. it's pretty much up here into the Canadian Maritimes, northern New Brunswick, these areas, and that moves out, and you can see we have a plume of moisture off the coast. We may actually get on the 19th here as we head on into the weekend, an area of snow breaking out across central Virginia here, and this starts to build up. This is pretty interesting. This is a chance for us to get an area of low pressure developing and maybe get some heavy wet snow developing across Virginia. Here it is. So we have a couple storms here. It's a very big pattern line up here for areas of low pressure. Now, each low pressure doesn't become terribly strong, but we got some good moisture, tropical moisture feeding from the eastern Gulf of Mexico all the way up the east coast. And look at this. Virginia Beach, you're right on the rain snow line here. Here's the 19th at 10 p.m. So we're getting into Sunday evening. And that is right. We are starting to break snow out all the way up the coastline here to Boston. So those of you that haven't seen snow, you might actually get some accumulation here as we head on to 1 a.m. on Monday morning. You can see snow breaking out across much of Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Long Island is starting to come to an end right around New York City. As it pulls out to the northeast, you do see a lake effect response behind it, as you normally do. But yeah, eastern New England, southern and southeastern New England could get clipped, as well as Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, Prince Edward Island, all up to the northeast here towards Newfoundland. So what's that set us up here for? Lake effect behind it through Monday into Tuesday of next week. And then this is the storm system we're going to be keeping a very close watch on. The previous video that I did, here it is, diving south across Texas with plenty of snow and freezing precipitation. Now, the rain snow line here on the 21st, right around 7 a.m. Look at this. South, just north of San Antonio here. Now, in between that, that's where you're going to see the ice. Look at this. South Houston looks like ice. North Houston looks like snow. So it's going to be the cold air coming bleeding down from the north. You have this 1050 millibar high. This is a prime setup for a southern snow and ice event. And look what you have coming off the coastline around this high. You have this deep tropical moisture flowing inward. This is going to spell disaster here for parts of Texas, and areas that are not used to seeing snow and ice will continue to watch this, because this is quite a southern cut of a storm here, bringing ice all the way down to Corpus Christi. Brownsville, you're still rain here. I know I had some of you viewers here from Brownsville indicating, we're going to see snow or ice. Well, so far, it looks like you're holding on to rain through 7 p.m. on Monday here. But look at just to the north. Wow, this is crazy. Heavy snow in Houston all the way over to Baton Rouge. Maybe even some wet snowflakes here around New Orleans. And then we get into 10 p.m. on Monday night. Look at this. Actually, Tuesday night. This would be Tuesday night time frame. And then as we head on into early the 22nd, on into Wednesday, snow all the way to the Gulf Coast. So this low just hanging out here, you may actually start to get some snow and ice accumulation here in Brownsville. It's going to be really close for you, so stay tuned. And this starts to head out over the Gulf, and then we have two pieces of energy here. One across the Gulf and then one off the U.S. East Coast. High pressure is kind of camped out right here, so it's kind of strange that we have this snow developing across the Carolinas. But let's see how this plays out here. Here's the 23rd into, look at this tropical moisture. Just want to stop it here on this frame because we got a couple areas of low pressure riding up along this. Florida, you're right in the shot of some tropical moisture, and then heavy snow and ice on the backside from Raleigh-Durham all the way up to Delmarva Peninsula. Unfortunately, Virginia Beach looks like it's going to be in rain with this kind of scenario, but look at this. We may get some pretty hefty snowfall accumulations if this run of the GFS does verify here through the 23rd, 24th, and on up the coast here. Look at that. So yeah, you do get some northeast lake effect and lake enhancement snow on the backside of this, so that would be interesting. But look at this. This could be another snowstorm for New England here, and this does start to rapidly intensify into a 970 millibar low right over Nova Scotia before blasting up into the Canadian Maritimes. And then that busy pattern just continues 27th here into the 28th. We do start to see a warming trend, though. So this is that advertised warming trend I told you about. This looks like a Bermuda high. This shouldn't be happening this time of year. But yeah, there's that warm air with the northern edge of this pretty much mostly frozen precipitation, but a lot of areas of rain. So let's take a look at the European model. This is a better solution here than our previous product because it actually gives us the precipitation overlay here. So let's just continue to go out here in time. You can see as we head through, let me get us to our Friday system. So you see this is our first system that's a very weak system, and then we get into our Friday system here. So parts of the Ohio Valley into the eastern Great Lakes. That's where we're seeing that snow breaking out, maybe mixing with some sleet pellets, some freezing rain across parts of Ohio. So the European does go a little bit warmer with this. I do want to caution you, this looks like we could have some stronger thunderstorms across parts of the Gulf Coast areas with some heavier rain. So watch out for that. But as we go out here in time, let's just go backward here. There we go. So we're progressing towards Saturday morning here. The snow breaking out across parts of the northeast, interior northeast here Saturday morning into the early afternoon. Now we do start to get warmer air winning out, so areas from the New York-Pennsylvania border southward do start to switch over to plain rain, and then up here into the northeast as well. So the European model is a bit warmer with this storm. Now here is the next storm, and it is a bit further to the north here on the European run. You can see snow breaking out across the Appalachians here that I showed you. This was the Sunday storm that was showing up on the GFS, but it was a little bit further off the coastline here. It was right out here, whereas the European is positioning it right in this region right here. So that's pretty interesting, picking up the European model comparing to the GFS. And here it is. It pivots that snow up into parts of the northeast here. It is a weak low pressure system, but it does have a lot of tropical moisture from the south feeding into it. And, you know, modest snow accumulations here with this system as we head on into Monday, but areas that haven't seen snow in quite a while, looks like could get your first few flakes and accumulation here. And then there's that big energy dive in here across Colorado. Now let's switch over to the previous Euro here. So here's that energy diving across the Colorado area, the Four Corners region. And we're going to watch that congeal here right along the Gulf Coast. Just like I showed you on the GFS, we're seeing this right here on the European model as well. And this looks very wintry. The fact that both models are picking up on this is nearly 6 to 7 days out. This is crazy, But it is quite remarkable that both models are indicating this. High pressure, let's get that out of the way. High pressure building in across the plains. That is anchoring that cold air along and north of the Gulf Coast. This is insane here. Look at this. This could be quite a surge of tropical moisture. The European is very persistent with extreme amounts of tropical moisture riding into this cold air dome. This would be a potentially devastating ice storm for much of Alabama, Georgia, and South Carolina if this verifies. Because look where the positioning of the high-pressure system is across the Mid-Atlantic and the Appalachians here. This is locking in some cold air. Houston, all the way down to Brownsville, New Orleans, these areas just along the Georgia-Florida border northward. This is where you could see that wintry precipitation continue towards the northeast here. And this European run takes us further to the north than the GFS does. You can see what it's doing here. It's bringing it up towards the Mid-Atlantic, right up the Appalachians here. Now, you notice the low doesn't get that strong, but you do get some pretty decent wintry accumulations. Of course, this model doesn't have Virginia Beach in any snow as well. It mainly heads to the northeast, but this would be Thursday, the 23rd. Look at this up into parts of the Mid-Atlantic into the northeast. This would be some very heavy snowfall amounts, and then sliding off the coast out into the ocean as we get into the Friday, the 24th here. So then there it is. Then we get another system organizing across the Gulf Coast region, and things get a little bit quieter as we head through the end of the month. So let's take a look at our snowfall accumulation here on our European run. Of course, this includes Friday's storm here into the northeast, and then we get on into Sunday's little fanfare as well up here into parts of the northeast. And then look at this. There's that next week system diving across Texas, Louisiana, all the way up the Tennessee River Valley, the Appalachians, and on up into the Mid-Atlantic. It is this model that really gives areas just to the south of this snow area a major ice storm. So this is something we're going to keep a very close watch on. But areas that do get snow stand the chance of getting 6 to 12, maybe higher, inches of snowfall. And if we take a look at the GFS run of snowfall accumulations, very, very similar here with the exception for that southern system where the GFS kind of does a roundabout thing. We're through Texas here off the coast and then kind of skipping much of the deep south here until reinitializing off the Mid-Atlantic coast here, where we do bring those snowfall totals closer to eastern Virginia, Delmarva, and up through New England here as we get into next week. All right, so heading into the southern plains with our GFS model, here is what the output is looking like. Yeah, this would bring snowfall just to the north of Brownsville. Look at the Houston area. Yeah, it is quite possible we could see borderline advisory warning criteria snowfall here as we head on into next week. Look at this. This would be crazy amounts of snow, 6 to 8 inches, especially West Houston, all the way over towards these areas of central Texas. And then, of course, it depended on where you are, but look at, there's another bullseye down in through parts of South Texas here. As we head over to the European run, this is way bigger with any snowfall here. Take a look at this as we go out here in time, as we get into the Tuesday, Wednesday time frame into early Thursday of next week. Look at this. Yeah, if this does verify, this would keep the heaviest snow just north of Houston, but would still give Houston a couple inches. But look at this, through parts of east central Texas, through northern Louisiana, into northern Mississippi here, we could be talking about 7 to as much as 14 inches of snow. And heading on into the deep south with our European run, there's that snow stretching to North Georgia. Of course, the European would paint a very disastrous ice storm just to the south of this main snow band. All right, so getting up to the Mid-Atlantic here with our European run. There it is across the Ohio Valley. We get into Friday's storm, 4 inches around Cleveland there. A lot of that falling with our system that moves through. Actually, some of that is some lake enhanced on Thursday as well. So you get the idea. It's probably going to be about 2 to 4 inches moving through. And then look at that Saturday. We just pile on more snowfall, getting up towards, by the all time is said and done here, 7 inches around Cleveland, central Ohio, up into parts of northwestern Pennsylvania. A lot of this is lake enhanced as well. And then we head on to next week. This is where things get interesting with our southern stream system. If this does verify, look what we could be looking at through parts of the central mid-Atlantic here into the middle part of the Appalachians. We could be talking about 12 to 18 inches of snow in some areas and about 7 to 8 up here towards New York City. And take a look at the GFS here. Look at this. So yeah, let me just take you through. There's the system, the first light system Thursday, a couple inches here up to, 3 inches around Cleveland. There's that lake effect over towards Erie, 7 inches or more. And then look at here as we head on to Saturday. Like I said, this is going to be a couple shots of snow. The bigger one here for Saturday comes in and you get up towards 7, 8, 9 inches total the next 3 to 4 days here in Cleveland. And look at this. They're parts of you got it kind of a bullseye, northeast Ohio, all the way through western New York, northwestern Pennsylvania. Look at the central Appalachians as well. Now let's bring our next system up. This is a little bit slower than the European run on to Wednesday and on into Thursday of next week. That's right around the 23rd into the 24th. Look at what happens here. This is where we bring the heaviest snow band right through parts of the deep south here into parts of Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina. And look at this. This would bring Virginia Beach into the close to foot or more. Now, I want to show you something with the 18Z GFS that's been happening. This is our latest one. Wanted to do some comparisons here for you because I wanted to show you the flip-flop. Look at this. Now, on this run, it's barely showing anything for Virginia Beach, and now it has the strongest band right up through parts of eastern Virginia, Delmarva, southeastern New Jersey, and then look at here into southeastern New England, hitting you with over 25 inches of snow. This is going to be pretty interesting as we watch this flip-flop back and forth. So getting up into the northeast here with our latest GFS run. There you can see I wanted to show you those lake effect totals, even up to Syracuse the next 3 to 4 days. Upwards of 6, 10 inches of snow, even down to Binghamton a couple inches. Some of this obviously falling as we get into Friday night into Saturday. We could see a couple inches. So you got to kind of take each storm as it comes here. It's hard to differentiate what is falling with what, but this is the total storm accumulation as we extrapolate this out several days. I wanted to make note of something. Here's our Sunday into Monday storm here on the GFS. This gets cranking up through Virginia and then on into parts of eastern New England. So that gives some areas 3 to 6 inches of snow. And then watch what happens as we get into next week. Yeah, we pile more on top of it. So we could be looking at southeastern New England if the GFS verifies. Tremendous amounts of snowfall here as we get a couple coastal lows, especially that last coastal system as we stretch on into middle to latter part of next week. Could be really hitting you with some snow. Even some warning criteria snows down in through Delmarva and parts of eastern Virginia. But look at the lake effect piling up from northeast Ohio, northwestern Pennsylvania, all the way up into New York towards the Tug Hill. As we take a look at our European run here for the Northeast, here's the next couple days. That system on Thursday teams up with some lake enhancement up towards 4 to 5 inches Cleveland, right around 6 to 8 inches Erie, and Syracuse northward 4 to 6 inches. So things get pretty interesting here as we head on into Friday night and Saturday. Look at this in Cleveland up to Erie and Buffalo. Yeah, you could be piling more snow on top of it here, and then some lake enhancement and lake effect kicking in behind it. So let's take a look, go a little bit further out on our European run here with our big system next week. This is where things really get cranking. Look at this, the Mid-Atlantic, even up into parts of New England here. This looks pretty interesting as we get on into next week. So that would be right around, there's Wednesday, Thursday, into Friday of the next week. So you get a couple shots of snow. There is a shot as we head Sunday into Monday. I wanted to show you this. This would be some light accumulation, but nevertheless would be enough to cover the ground for some areas that haven't seen it in quite some time. And there's our bigger system come the middle to latter part of next week. All in all, it looks like a very active weather pattern. All right, so let's take a look at the future radar quick here. You can see the lake effect snow that's going to be affecting parts of northeast Ohio, northwestern Pennsylvania, western New York during the next 24 to 36 hours. That is going to push off to the northeast, though, as we head on into later Wednesday and on into Thursday. We have a little weak clipper system that's going to bring a few inches of snow to much of Ohio, western New York, and western Pennsylvania, southern Ontario. And there could be a band of heavier snow that drops a quick 1 to 2 inches as well with lake enhancement. And then, of course, that pushes to the east early Friday. So our upper air weather pattern here, let's take a look at the European run as we go out in time. Yeah, as we progress through this week's very troughiness, we do get a little bit of a ridge come the first part of the weekend, but look how short-lived that is. As we get into next week with that big cold air Arctic blast, you see this big area of low pressure and this big ridge up into the Gulf of Alaska. That is going to promote, there's the blocking up there in Greenland. We're going to see several systems developing here with tremendous cold in eastern North America. Now watch as we head towards the end of the month. Yeah, we do get a little temporary ridge across the east, but look what's developing. You have a massive omega ridge out here into the Gulf of Alaska. That's going to get this trough really carving out across eastern North America until we get to about the 29th. Then we start to see a reversal. This is kind of curious. We have big, massive ridge up here in the Gulf of Alaska, but a massive trough here across the west. Massive ridge developing across the east. So let's head over to the GFS here. Look what's going on. Yeah, it's kind of interesting here with the GFS. There's that trough pulling out ridge, temporary, just like the European. Now look at the GFS next week. It's even bigger with this trough. So right around Monday the 20th, this is where the flux of the coldest air, it's a negatively tilted trough. You got massive ridging out here into western Canada and the Pacific Northwest. This just breaks down, it looks like, by the 23rd into the 24th, but I caution you, look what starts to happen for our big storm across the east. This could be quite a big storm, depending on where you're at here along the East Coast and the Deep South. So watch out. Lots of tropical moisture feeding into this, but as I said before, the advertised ridge behind it, that really gets the Inferno firecracker ridge starting. But look at this. We have blocking up here in Greenland and big ridge out here along the west part of Canada and the United States. So I don't think this ridge across the east is going to last very long. All right, so the tropics, let's take a look here across the Caribbean, Central America. Hope everybody's doing well down here. We've been seeing, some scattered showers helping to cool off things here. I know you haven't seen a cold front, an actual real cold front come through in a bit, but let's see if we can get one to come through here as we head through the 16th into the 17th. Yeah, look at this. We get some scattered showers moving in through parts of the Lesser Antilles and on these northeast trade winds here. So look at this, a little bit drier here through parts of Honduras and Belize as we head through the weekend here. So catching a little bit of a break here. Showers starting to kick up around Panama here in Costa Rica and all the way through Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, and the Lesser Antilles down to Trinidad and Tobago. So as we put this into motion, most of the inclement weather is going to be right up here across Florida. This is where the tropical moisture alley is going to continue here. And as we continue through the 20th on into the 21st here, ultimately you can see what's going to be happening. We have a stalled front. It doesn't look like it's going to head too far to the south here. And that is going to be the focal point of showers and thunder shower action from Belize down to the northern coastline of Honduras, all the way down to Costa Rica and Panama here. Still some shower activity across the Cayman Islands and Jamaica as we head into next week. And that just continues here. Look at this. As we head on to the 23rd, this may actually be one of your drier days here come the middle of next week in Jamaica. But we still have showers scattered throughout most of the Caribbean here. Look at the Gulf, though. Wow, it just seems like the Gulf is open for business here as the tropical moisture is just feeding right into these Gulf and East Coast systems. And look at this. This looks really ominous for this time of year. Doesn't that look like a tropical wave? Well, let's see what happens with that. So this frontal boundary, we're going to be watching a couple areas as we head through the end of the month. This looks like a very sharp cold front. We're going to see how far to the southeast this gets. We do have an area of low pressure right over Colombia, South America. That's going to be drifting towards the northwest here, towards Central America. And we're going to be watching this. So let's put this into motion through the 24th. The 25th, of course, it does start to weaken down here south of Trinidad, Tobago. It does bring a few gusty showers through. Let's just back this up a second. Look at this front. As this front moves through, it's not going to move through with little fanfare. It's going to bring some pretty big rains here throughout parts of Honduras in particular, right around the 25th. It's kind of crazy. And if we just continue in time, it actually looks like right around the 24th into the 25th, this front clears the Cayman Islands and Jamaica, all the way through Belize and northern Honduras, and even Haiti. So all the Bahamas as well. So there we go. The front does start to stall right in this region. So it's not going to make it too far to the south. We do have this area of low pressure just hanging out across northwestern South America. And as you can see, this tropical moisture really gets hung up here across the Yucatan, Honduras, and Belize. But I do want to make note, look at this, across much of the southern and eastern Caribbean, and eventually by the 30th here, much of Central America, we are seeing a clearing trend with just a few showers here from Jamaica over to Puerto Rico. But look at the Bahamas. You are getting socked in here through Florida with deep tropical moisture with these northern branch jet stream systems. All right, the Western Caribbean, Central America rainfall totals, we'll take it through the rest of this week into early next week. Yeah, we're drying out a little bit from northern Honduras, Belize. Totals will be about 10 to 25 millimeters on average, nothing more than a quarter inch. Some rainfall here around Jamaica as well, especially northeastern Jamaica. You'll see probably about 15 to 30 millimeters on average, maybe locally higher towards Portland Parish there. Northern coastline of Dominican Republic and Haiti, yeah, you could see upwards of 35, 45 millimeters over towards Puerto Rico, where you could actually see a half an inch on average. Flipping over to our GFS run, this will take us out longer. So we head into later next week into the end of the month. This is where things get a little concerning. Look at this. All the eastern coastline here of Central America, from Costa Rica all the way up through Honduras here, the northern coastline, eastern coastline of Belize, all the way up the Yucatan Peninsula to Cancun, and then stretching off towards Florida and the northern Bahamas. This is where you could see 100 to 200 plus millimeters of rainfall. We just get our marker out here. You can see the northern coastline of Honduras getting upwards of 300 millimeters in some places, down towards Panama and Costa Rica here. Here's Costa Rica, 400 millimeters in some places. Northeast coast of Jamaica, right around 139 millimeters. Most of Jamaica, though, averaging out to about 15 to 45 millimeters on average. And then you get to the north-facing coast of Dominican Republic and Haiti, right around 100 to 150 millimeters of rainfall. And then over towards Puerto Rico here, almost up on the East Coast to close to 200 millimeters. That'll get you easily up towards 5 to 8 inches. And let's head to the Eastern Caribbean here. Yeah, those northeast trade winds and what feels like some tropical wave activity here approaching early next week as we get into the following week. But yeah, that's going to have us increase the rainfall here through the end of the month. We're going to be looking at totals of 60 to as much as 100 millimeters of rainfall. That's getting you up towards 2.5 to 4 inches of rain. So for Canada, what is going to be happening here? So as we go out here in time, ultimately, it's a quieter weather pattern than the United States, with the exception for the west and the east coast here. You're going to get some areas of some intense snowstorm and winter storm action. You do have a few Alberta clippers moving through the 16th into the 17th and heading on into the 18th here across parts of Manitoba, on Ontario here, and then Quebec. So that moves on here east of Hudson Bay. Here's that first area of low pressure moving out over Nova Scotia, Newfoundland. This one's mostly rain. High pressure building into most of Canada through next week, Monday, Tuesday, into Wednesday. You can really start to see this, but things really get interesting here on the 24th. Look what's coming up the U.S. East Coast, a 970 millibar low. This will push a low track like this would push heavy rain and wind all the way up through Nova Scotia, but New Brunswick, northeastward here, could actually see some very intense snowfall, and then that blasts up into parts of the Canadian Maritimes. West Coast getting some light systems moving through here, another Alberta clipper moving through southern Ontario and Quebec here with another area of low pressure across Hudson Bay. So all in all, you can see, let me just back this up just a little bit. Here's another Alberta clipper. As the United States gets a warming trend towards the end of the month, the Alberta clippers are going to start to target parts of Ontario and Quebec here. You can see moving through here through the 30th and into the last part of the month. So let's take a look at our snowfall amounts here. Yeah, as you can see, the west and east coast of Canada It almost looks like widespread snow across eastern Canada wins us out here, with many areas between 15 and 30 centimeters of snow. But look at this, through parts of New Brunswick, even clipping the northern part of Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island over to Newfoundland and eastern Quebec, we could see some areas approach 40 to 60 centimeters of snow over the next 2 weeks. So getting very exciting. Even a couple clippers through the central provinces, bringing widespread 15 to 30 centimeters. And look at the west coast of Canada. That's where we're going to continue to see 70 plus centimeters up to 110 centimeters, not out of the question. All right, so let's take a look at the Western Pacific here. I actually don't have a whole lot to report here. That has actually some good news. Look at this. You're in your cold weather here across East and Southeast Asia. Look at that. There's nothing to talk about. You're clear as a bell. Seoul, South Korea, Tokyo, Japan, all the way over to Beijing, China here, Shanghai, all the way down to Hong Kong here. It is looking smooth ride here. Now, look at across the Philippines. You're actually looking at a drying trend as well. This is some great news for you. Almost going to feel like a breath of fresh air here. You don't start to get more moisture until around the 27th, heading on into the 29th, 30th. But you know what? Even then, I think you'll take it at this point. And before we continue with more weather coverage, check out these amazing, awesome maps from my affiliate here. I am proud to announce that I am now an affiliate with Trilogy Maps. TrilogyMaps.com, bringing you the most digital, customizable maps found nowhere else on the internet. These maps are simply stunning. It's an advanced layering system that makes these maps great for making forecast maps with ease, or any other maps that you would like to display important information on. The resolution on these maps is simply amazing. From the detail of everything here in the States, and you can also create stunning, digital, professional layered maps from also across the entire world. And don't forget, in checkout, the discount code option, use my code, MeteoMark, hit apply, and you will get 20% off your order. So if you want the most professional, customizable, and affordable weather maps found nowhere else on the internet, look no further than TrilogyMaps.com. Link in the description down below along with your discount code. All right, let's take a look at your temperature outlook. Yeah, it's going to be really cold across the Ohio Valley, Great Lakes, into the Northeast. We're going to be holding down into the upper teens, lower 20s, and those wind chills are going to feel like single digits. As we head on into Thursday, you can already see this warming trend across the South. Don't get used to it, though, because we got another shot of cold air coming as we get into next week. So look at this, holding on to 20s across the interior northeast, 30s here into parts of the Ohio Valley. As we head on into Friday, here's our winter storm potential up into parts of the northeast. Yeah, it looks pretty marginal, but some areas will see accumulating snow here from northern Ohio and eventually into upstate New York and northern Pennsylvania. But I wanted to show you this. Look what is coming here. Negative single digits below zero, 20s all the way down to northern Oklahoma. Watch this. The bottom just completely falls out here. This is where things really go downhill. But if you are a cold and snow lover, this is going to be your delight here. Look at this. Negative 10s below zero up here. And look at this, northern Texas here. This is where you start to see that winter storm action as we get into next week. But look at this. Brutal. Parts of the Ohio Valley won't even get out of the lower teens into the interior northeast. The upper Midwest, negative 10s below zero. And look at this. This stretches to the east. You can almost see how we could support a winter storm across much of the deep south as we get into next week. And look at that cold purplish colors in the northeast. Teens, lower teens for highs. Extended forecast from hometown viewers, bringing to Scranton, Upper Susquehanna, River Valley, New York, and Pennsylvania. As we take a look at Wednesday through the weekend here, with those scattered lake effect snow showers continuing on Wednesday, only into the mid-20s. Overnight lows down into the lower to mid-teens as we get into Thursday, scattered snow showers as well. But the warm front moves through Friday, getting us up into the mid-30s. By Friday night and Saturday, we could be seeing those snow showers changing to a mix of rain and snow, and eventually over to rain in the afternoon on Saturday. So watch out for that into Saturday night, into Sunday. We cool it down a bit. Next week, that's when it gets really bone-chilling cold.